Welcome back to another episode of the All In Podcast. I'm your host, David Moore, CEO and team leader of Keller Williams Arizona Realty in Scottsdale and North Phoenix High Street, along with my co-host, traveling the country again, out of studio, but with us in spirit, Joe Quattrucci, the Director of Growth for the Kristen Cole Network. Joe, how's it going, man?
It's great up here in Maine for the holidays. It's cold. It's fantastic. I'm glad to be home, and I'm glad that I was still able to be part of this interview. Super excited today to be talking to Brady Sandahl.
That's awesome. And did it just dump 3 feet of snow there or something? Didn't I hear that?
Right before I got back to Maine, it had snowed 24 inches in some parts of Maine. So yeah, it's been a white Christmas already.
That's incredible. You can keep it all. There's a reason why I think we moved 2,500 miles to the desert. However, I hope you have an amazing time out there. You just alluded to it. I am so excited to introduce our guest today. He has become a friend of ours this year. Brady Sandahl, the CEO and founder of the Sandahl Group out of Palm Springs, as well as the International Director of Growth for Keller Williams Luxury. And I'm so excited for you guys to get to know Brady today and for us to talk about luxury real estate and client experience. Brady, welcome to the show.
David and Joe, thank you so much. It truly is a pleasure to spend time with you and obviously with your listeners today.
I'm so excited. You're just hearing your story and exactly how you've come to this point is going to bring so much value. And I know that I learn something every single time you and I sit down and chat. Joe, you always lead us off with the first question. So how about we just keep following tradition since we're in the holiday season?
All right, Brady. Well, we'll start off with a fairly simple question. Give our listeners kind of a high-level overview of what your business is and what you do in real estate.
Okay, Joe, my pleasure. So my name is Brady Sandahl. I'm coming to you today from Palm Springs, California, which is about 2 hours east of Los Angeles and about 2 hours northeast of San Diego and about an hour and 10-minute flight from San Francisco, which, by the way, those are our 3 major markets that feed into our little valley known as 45 minutes long and 10 minutes tall. And we're primarily a resort secondary home market. I lead 10 phenomenal agents in luxury and 4 wonderful supporters of those agents who sell luxury. So a team of 14, we will help just over 210 families this year, totaling about 150 million of closed volume. And it's truly our pleasure to say that we focus on providing the absolute best customer experience throughout each interaction of the clients we serve. That's what we do, how we do it, and that's how we define culture here at Brady Sandahl Real Estate Group. So proud to be here today.
I absolutely love that. Now, so take us back for a few minutes because I think that your background, Brady, really feeds into why a hallmark and cornerstone of your business is this customer experience. So give our listeners an idea of what were you doing prior to real estate and what got you to that point in your story?
Well, I grew up in a real estate family. My father was in real estate. My mother was involved in medical centers. So I was either eating cafeteria food or sitting at an open house. In fact, I did my first open house at age 5 with my father. And, I think a 5-year-old thought that was normal, that you would spend your weekends with your father asking the buyers to buy the house and the sellers to list the one next door. Realized that I was going to be in real estate. Now, I did not go into real estate right away. I swam competitively and had the pleasure of working for a great company called Nordstrom. I know both of you have spent a ton of money with that brand, which I thank. And
true.
I learned at Nordstrom that while the customers believe they are number one, it's the internal customers that really are number one. And what I learned from Blake Nordstrom is that when you focus on your internal ladies and gentlemen first, and you focus on attracting the right talent, and you focus on talent that will build out the customer experience, the customers win, right? You have to remember that the customer experience starts behind the curtain. before it can go in front of the curtain. And that is a core principle that we've never deviated away from. In fact, when I first started selling real estate as an individual agent back in 2004, I was an individual agent, but every partnership I had with an affiliate, with a vendor, with a temporary employment, with a full employee, I always remembered that the experience I give them will translate to the experience they give the customers that are hiring them and ultimately selecting us to represent them. So I think as an industry, those who are going to win going forward are going to win based on the internal experience, which then allows the external experience to be that much stronger.
I think that is extremely perceptive, and I love that you said that because it validates some of the things that we're attempting to do at our brokerage as well. I frequently say that my goal is to be the most team-centric leader of our brokerage so that they can be the most agent-centric team in all of real estate so that our agents can be the most consumer centric. And I would subscribe to that same thing that you just laid out there, that it starts behind the curtain. So could you give us some ideas of how you have practically put that to work in your business?
Sure. So we realize that luxurious brands that give exceptional service, is what luxury is all about. Luxury is a state of comfort. It is not a price point, right? We know that the more mature consumers used to define luxury as a price point, but our younger consumers define luxury as an experience. And so everything we do is around the experience of the consumer. When we studied great brands like Nordstrom, like the Ritz-Carlton, like Tesla, even David Yurman, we recognize that there are some core values that they always demonstrate at a really high level. The first is they have what's called anticipatory service. Now, the Ritz-Carlton is known for that. In other words, David, and Joe, you know this too, that with anticipatory service, you're giving the customer what they need before they realize they need it. Anticipate what the customer needs and give it to them before they realize they need it. We also recognize that great brands who deliver exceptional service understand the importance of service, right? Now, not just serving the customer, but serving each other behind the curtain, and then focusing on the service platform in front of the curtain. We also know that great brands who focus on the experience will focus on performance, right? How are the ladies and gentlemen, staff, the ladies and gentlemen performing each day, every day? And what we focus on here at Brady Sandahl Real Estate Group is performance, and we talk about it every single day. Performance is not a monthly conversation. It's not a weekly conversation. It's a daily conversation. And so every day we talk about performance. We also know that great brands who focus on the customer experience are very inspirational. They are looking to surprise and delight their customers, both behind the curtain, as well as surprising the customers who hire them, right? So they're looking for those opportunities to not just thank the customer at the end, but reward them throughout the entire experience. Now, we know in real estate, well, responsiveness is key, right? People are glued to their devices. They have pent up energy to buy real estate. They're often moving faster than the agents in the market. So being highly responsive is another core value of what we have in our customer experience platform. And finally, we know from great brands across the company and across the country and across all industries, right? The concept of excel and the concept of exceeding is really a defining moment. It's not to exceed and excel the customer. It's to exceed and excel ourselves, right? We show up every day, just like you do on your podcast. You show up every day to make that podcast so much better than the one you did before. Well, here's the thing. Anticipate, serve, perform, inspire, respond, excel. Those are the core values that we call Aspire. So everything that we do at Brady Sandahl Real Estate Group here in Palm Springs is focused around Aspire. Do we aspire to select the best talent? Do we aspire to select and represent the best properties? Do we aspire to represent the best clients and engage them throughout the transaction? Here's why that's so important. And we learned this from our relationship with the Ritz-Carlton Leadership Center. We know that when customers leave us, and by the way, when customers leave them, it's about a 10% chance the customers may not come back. Now in real estate, that means that they've moved from Palm Springs and they may never come back to Palm Springs. We got the job done, right? But we also know that there's probably a 14 to 15% chance that the customers may not come back because now they're licensed or they've married someone who is, or their parent or their child's licensed. We can't prevent that. But what we can diminish is the fact that 67% of consumers may not come back because the service connection was indifferent. Meaning we got the job done, but if they're not connected to the brand, if they're not connected to the DNA of the organization, there's a 67% chance that they may never come back. And that's what we have to do as entrepreneurs, is take that 67% and crush it down. And the way you crush it down is keeping your customers engaged throughout the entire relationship. By the way, engagement is not just about the customers who pay you. It's about the customers that are working with you. So for those of you who are building out a business of 1 and you want to get to 2, or you want to grow to 10, remember, those you select are going to be the executors of what's inside of you. That kid inside of you, those are the people that are going to execute out. And the more you select and the bigger the business gets, the more defined your brand standards need to be and your customer platform needs to be laid out. Remember, the ladies and gentlemen that sign up to support you, they're great people, but they may not be good mind readers. So your mind and your heart has to be on paper. Otherwise, people can't execute it.
Yeah, I think that's something that we often forget as leaders of teams and organizations, that there's this knowledge gap that exists. We assume that since we know it, everyone else needs to know it, because surely I said it last year at the annual retreat, right? And to your point, I've found in my growth and development in real estate business that you have to almost be obnoxious, and I use that word carefully, but in the repetition of how you're communicating these things, in this case, Aspire. And it's clear. So, you founded your group, several years ago. Was this Aspire concept something that you baked in from the beginning, or was this something that took shape over many years? How did you come to this? Because that's such a simple way of thinking through it. It's such a great rubric.
Well, I would like to suggest that the years of being coached by great leaders in Nordstrom and other organizations, you show up every day to support those cultures and build out those organizations. And so there was a natural progression of what I did and how I did it. But David, it wasn't until I started to bring in more talent, right, that caused me to put the ideas onto paper. Here's the thing. In real estate and in almost in every business, those that build the business thinking the customers will come will fail faster than those who build the business because they have more business than they can support. Let me say it the other way. You should only build the business if you have the business ready there to support, right? So what happens is I was known for delivering exceptional service and fantastic results, which means more people would select me to represent them. I simply ran out of time. So I was then forced to find other people just like me who would deliver the same brand standards that I would choose to deliver. Now, I had those brand standards in my DNA. I had them for 45 years, right? I was the kid that would build new home developments using Happy Meals from McDonald's. But it wasn't until I did a self-reflection of how do our customers describe what I do? What words do they use? And then also, what are companies that I want to be like? How do they do what they do so well? And what words would I use to describe them? And all of that work, and it wasn't easy, gentlemen, but all of that work gave me the acronym of Aspire. And so everything that we do, in all ways that we do it, is benchmarked again. Is this in the best interest? And will this cause us to aspire those we're trying to build up as well as those we're trying to serve? Now, David, digressing a moment, you talked about the repetition of the message. Here's what we know about customers. They want messages consistently, and they need them frequently, right? They want to get the message consistently. They want to know that if they're going to a Starbucks, that double tall latte will be the same in Scottsdale as it will be in Boston, as it will be in Palm Springs, right? But we also know is that it has to be delivered frequently, right? So consistency is key, as is frequency. And when you can deliver something consistently, when it's scalable and you can execute frequently, that's when you take that 67% number where the customers are not engaged, they're not tied to the brand, and you cause that number to shrink. You force it closer to zero.
And so as you were doing that, Brady, and as you were shrinking that number to zero in your business, I imagine that growth was happening in terms of units, volume, all the key metrics that we look at as business owners. I think that if I were to project a problem that some agents have into this, I see so many agents who are trying to build who would say, yes, I have the structure in place, but I just need to make this higher because the business is overflowing, and they're very hasty to hire. I'm getting the sense that you really slow down when you add people into your world. I'm curious, could you just talk about that a little bit? Like, how are you finding talent that meshes so well with this aspirational DNA?
Well, there's a lot in that question. So number one,
I have a tendency to do that.
I love that about you. We have to be really clear on the direction that we're taking the company, right? We have to be really clear on the target because 97% of people want to be led to the target. The three of us and your listeners, we're in the 3%, but the rest of the world needs to be led to the target. So clarity on the target is important. Number two, we have to be really clear on how they fit into the customer experience. In other words, you have to be clear on how your customers move through your organization. And when you're clear on how the customers move through, then you can align the talent to get the customer through faster and stronger, right? I don't mean force, I mean faster and stronger. Customers don't like obstacles. They don't like holes or gaps or inconsistencies. They don't like infrequency of messaging. So by understanding how the customer goes through, then you can have the talent go through. And here's the thing. We have to be slower to select than we have been in the past, right? We have to be more comfortable asking more questions. We, as CEOs of our business, we know how to sell. And unfortunately, we're going to sell people on them more than they're going to sell them on us. So as a strong salesperson, it is not our job to sell them on us, right? We're going in as a great news broadcaster asking a series of questions, right? We want to figure out who they are, what they've done, and where they want to go. And they have to simply share with us why would they choose to align They're great passion. They're great talents to our organization. Now, when we figured out we've had enough conversations, the answer is that every single person has one fault. And I learned this from a great coach. Once you've determined the fault, the question is, can you live with it? If you have not found a fault in that person, you simply have not had enough conversations with that person. So we are simply too fast to date. We can be too fast to marry, and we can be too fast to employ. And so we simply have to slow down the conversation and really look at it as you are selecting them for your championship team more than you're recruiting them into one. And your ladies and gentlemen need to understand, like they do at the Ritz-Carlton, that they have been selected. It's an honor, right? Because they are now the brand ambassadors designed to execute your customer experience platform at the highest level possible, regardless of the seat that they're in. So, recap, target on where you're going, clear on the customer experience, how someone moves through, aligning the talent that's needed, and remind them that they've been selected as a critical component of those customer interactions that allow the customers to be satisfied and return back for future business.
This whole conversation reminds me of Simon Sinek, and he's talking about the objective of business is not to get into business with everybody who wants to get into business with you. Rather, the objective of business is to get into relationship and business with people who are in alignment with you and who share your values. And so what I hear you saying, Brady, is when we're going through this hiring process and we're selecting the right candidate who's going to be our brand ambassador and represent our business, we have to be very thoughtful and take the time to make sure that they have the same values that we have and that we want them to represent outwardly to our client base. It's such an important point that you're making.
Well, let me give an analogy for those that are in real estate. And I think your audience is really heavily in real estate. Think of it yourself as a listing agent. You're going to prospect out to owners, ask them a series of questions to figure out if they're an owner or a seller, right? The same thing with talent. You're going to go out and lead generate for talent. You're not going to sell them. You're going to ask them a series of questions to figure out if they are talent and they're talent that you need right now or down the future to support the Ritz-Carlton level of service that you want to offer. The danger, Joe, is when the seller calls or the recruit calls and says, boy, I really want to hire you, or I really want to work for you. And we're desperate because we haven't figured out our performance, or we don't know where the next commission's coming from, or we don't know if we're going to find another assistant. And we simply grab them and plug them in. And then, by the way, when the next conversation calls in and we can go make $10 or $15 or $30,000, guess who we're going to ignore? The person we just brought into the organization. When you've selected the right talent, you've selected the right talent, which means you can go down that lane of chief visionary officer, talking about those core values, which we talk about Aspire every day, 8:45. That's our daily lineup. We talk about 3 G's of what are we grateful for, right? The second G of what are we focused on for our goals? Where are we for week, month, quarter, and year? We talk about that every day. And that third G is what's the grit of the day that we all need to know right now so that we can celebrate at the end of the day knowing we hit our goals. So that morning lineup and that 4:45 accountability call, everything in the middle is focused around the 3 G's and how well did we do Aspire in those benchmarks.
This is so accessible to agents who are listening to this. The way that you're laying this out, Brady, any agent can go take action on these things. And so I'm grateful. I'll tip one of the G's there. I'm grateful for how you are expounding upon these things. And I don't know if listeners just picked up on it, but it sounds like, so you have a daily lineup at 8:45, but then you bookend it going over those same G's. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, so we have the 8:45 daily lineup, which is the 3G call. So what are we grateful for? Where are the goals? And what's the grit? And then once we go out of that call, which could be 15 or 20 minutes, we go directly into role play because we practice on our peers, not on the people that pay us, right? Every championship team practices with their peers. They don't practice on the team they're trying to beat. And then we're going from role play into lead gen, lead follow-up, appointments, and negotiation of contracts. So by 4:45, everyone shows up to reinforce what are we grateful for in that day? What did we do to help us get closer to our goal, right? And what are the things we have to wrap up right now so that everybody can go home, recharge, knowing that when they show up tomorrow, they've got a really tight, clear focus, clarity. Now, here's the thing, and you both know this. When you are leading a team of one, or you're leading a team of 101, you cannot kick the can down the road with gratitude. People want to know that you're grateful for what they do and how well they do it. So if our ladies or gentlemen cannot identify what they're grateful for, and I as their leader will call them out on something that they've done right and how that rightness ties back to our core values of Aspire. As a leader, you have to show gratitude. Number two, you have to give clarity on the company goal and their individual contribution to help that goal happen. Why do we spend goal time every 7 days? It should be a daily conversation. Now, we do not work 7 days, but our systems do. So 5 of the 7 days, we're having the conversation around goals. I'm proud to say that in the last 5 years, we have not been off mark by very much because we look at the goals every day. And that third G of the grid, which of our internal customers, which of our external customers need more attention? Which of our sellers and buyers need more attention? Who should we surprise and delight today? Who looks a little tired where they maybe need a little vitamin D or a vitamin C? An injection of appreciation. Well, then we celebrate that at 5:45. And in a world of Zoomtown, you can still have culture through the use of technology. But the words you choose to use and the questions that you choose to ask will determine how successful you are in building the culture that you want. And ladies and gentlemen, as you get bigger, and gentlemen, you know this, you have to spend time on the business just as much as you had to spend time in the business. And in the business is immediate gratification. Oh, I got a listing. I got a buyer contract. On the business is delayed. It's delayed gratification. And for that unfortunate reason, we tend not to spend time working on the business. But here's the thing, if you don't work on the business, you're not going to create the outcome that you want, which is delivering exceptional customer experiences for the customers that are selecting you to get them to where they want in the time they want.
You're exactly.
I love the distinction.
Go for it, Joe.
Go ahead. I love the distinction you made, Brady, really at the beginning of the call about how luxury is really not an average price point, or it is not how much money I can spend on my clients to show them gratitude. Rather, it's that experience. It's that ability to anticipate. And you've really demonstrated for us the last few minutes on how any agent can really take these concepts and really start to apply them. And what I'm really hearing through this conversation is it's a matter of being highly, highly intentional with your actions and being super aware of what you want to implement, and starting really with your mindset, right? Starting internally in yourself. And just, can you elaborate on a little bit on how that starts really truly with your individual mindset as a leader? And then because I think that this is something that, to David's point earlier, most agents could be adopting and could be using in their business, but maybe it's not even on their radar yet. So talk about the expectations that are changing in the real estate business from our consumers, and how more and more teams and big companies are going to have to start adopting these principles of service if they want to stay in business for the long term.
Well, here's the direction that we're taking Keller Williams, the house of excellence for agents who sell luxury real estate. And by the way, we are selling luxury at a really high level. When you walk into a Keller Williams Market Center, the culture of the Keller Williams Market Center is much like the culture of Nordstrom. It's filled with ladies and gentlemen with big servant hearts. That is unique to the real estate industry. Most real estate companies are very competitive and not sharing oriented. Keller Williams wants everybody to win. It is one of the core values of our great organization. Now, Joe, I'm going to be a little bit focused on your question because there are three things that every agent has to know: mindset and the importance of a good one, skill set and the importance of using the right ones, and activities primarily performance-based. Now, I'll tell you that most people's mindset is not real strong. In fact, I learned from Mike Ferry that the first thought that enters your head is generally not a good one. So the second thought that enters your head has to be a great one. That's probably the best piece of advice he's given me around mindset. Now, unfortunately, a lot of agents will select mindset as their focal point. It's not the right way to approach it. We want to start with activities, and here's why. When you show up with activities and you do the same activities over and over again, your skills will naturally get stronger. And as your skills get naturally stronger, you're more confident, which in turn strengthens your mindset. Now, David and Joe, you know this. Have you ever met someone with high production that always has a mindset issue? No. Mindset issues only show up more common when there's no production, meaning there's no activity. So ladies and gentlemen, activities will develop skills, which will strengthen your mindset. So if you're having mindset issues, if you're listening to this thinking, my mindset is not in the right place, I'm going to bet you money on the table that your schedule is not filled with the right activities for what you need to do next. Every activity that you do is either going to be a good one or a bad one. The activity of eating Doritos and Twinkies is the activities of taking a walk and drinking water, right? Then your skills get stronger, the success shows up, and the mindset is really, really strong. So activity, skills, mindset, and I think it's in that order.
I could not agree more. And you were just giving us a clinic on this whole idea, and I love it. Like we haven't even gotten into really what your story looks like today, and I do want to touch on that because. Really, you gave us a peek behind the curtain of how you served your people so well, went consumer facing with it, and was able to expand. And that's led you into your most recent adventure, if I could term it that, of the International Director of Growth for Keller Williams Luxury. And so talk to us a little bit about how you're taking this same level of service and brand standards into a huge organization like Keller Williams to better serve our agents. And why does that excite you? Like, why even do that? You're already doing this at such a high level. Like, why would you go into this new can of worms, if you will?
Well, I want to share with you that I started with a good real estate company called RE/MAX. And RE/MAX was the brand where you learn to be the Heisman Trophy winner. I'm not really sure I can throw a football because I swam for 12 years, but I at least can catch a football. But I realized that brand was about the individual agent, and I simply ran out of time. So I hit a performance ceiling with RE/MAX. So then I went to Sotheby's because I was known for great service. So why not go with a good luxury brand? And by the way, they are a good luxury brand. But that's the only thing they could offer me, which was that pretty brochure and that blue and white sign. And so in 2015, gentlemen, I interviewed over 50 companies, not market centers, 50 companies, because I wanted to have one final company I could go to. And I wanted a 30-year run, which means I could stay in that ecosystem and build up something bigger. And what I wanted to build up was the people around me more than the production itself. So I flew down and sat in a big conference room with Keller Williams agents for what's called Mega Camp. And it was September 2015 that I sat in that room. And within 9 minutes, I realized that Gary Keller and the executive team had built a business for people just like me, people who came with big servant hearts, people who wanted to show up every day and make a big difference in the world and wanted to be compensated fairly. I also realized that Keller Williams was the largest real estate sales force, and at the same time, the sales force that didn't realize they were the dominant player in luxury. And that my space, my contribution, my focus was going to be to help them identify that they've already arrived in the luxury space and help them tell a brand story. Now, I joined Keller Williams July 1st of 2016, but I sat in that chair September of 2015. And Gary Keller says that we're only 5 years away from being where we want to be in the space we want to be in. And it was 5 years to the week that Gary Keller reached out to me and said, Brady, you're my person. You're the person that can take Keller Williams to luxury. And I said, Gary, I'm honored. Here's the deal. We're already there. We've already arrived in the luxury. What you're asking me to do is guide the company to realize that we're already a strong player. In fact, in 15 major markets, and in the top 10% of those 15 markets, Keller Williams had the most market share. In fact, in 2019, we had almost 14% market share.
Wow.
Already arrived. But here's the deal. We're private, we're profitable, and we're humble. And while that has worked, we now in luxury need to tell the story. So I signed up to say, let me help you create a brand story. Let me help our ladies and gentlemen realize that not only are we in luxury, but we deserve to be there. And why we're there is because of a few reasons. Number one, we show up being very customer focused. Number two, we understand the market dynamics of the markets we're in. But third, we're the largest real estate sales force this world has ever seen. And all we had to do was tell that story, raise our standards, and communicate that to the consumers. Well, I am so proud to say that all of that's going forward. So now as Keller Williams being the house of excellence for agents who sell luxury and the clients that want that done, if you've never thought of Keller Williams before, now is the time to think of Keller Williams because we are the house of excellence with new models, new tools, and a national playbook that will execute across our ecosystem and into neighborhoods worldwide. It's truly the absolute best time to look at the organization, return back to the organization, and stay with the organization.
It's something...
I mean, I don't know about you, David, but I certainly can't think of anybody better than Brady to help articulate this message both internally and externally about the KW luxury division. Really important stuff.
Well, I mean, other than having some of the best hair in the industry, he's just painfully well-spoken. And like the thing that I think, we don't talk about Keller Williams much, on this podcast. We serve consumers across the board and all of these things. And yet I love that we get to dive into this a little bit with Brady today because, I've in my 3 years with Keller Williams, the amount of agents who have had the opportunity to create a bigger life for them and their families and serve their consumers at a higher level is I mean, I can list them on so many hands. I only have two. And I think it always surprises me how the perception out there is that Keller Williams is not a luxury company or that we don't do luxury real estate. And that's not the case. And what you're talking about, Brady, it ultimately boils down to, and it goes back to the fact that in our DNA, we have values that an agent who sells luxury or desires to sell luxury needs to have to do that at a high level. And I picked up on, even while you were going through your hunt, 50 companies, you were putting into practice the exact same principles that you opened this show with. Doing your due diligence to say, where are those values that I align with, that I lean into, and then I just get to live my, let's just say, my truth, right? Live that out on a platform. And that's what you're doing with KW Luxury. And you're helping more people to experience that and see that and build bigger businesses, not for the sake of a dollar amount. Same reason, that wasn't the reason you built your real estate group, but so that you could make a bigger impact. And you could serve more people. And you could help people realize dreams. And that is so aspirational in and of itself. And I think that's why success continues to show up where you show up and continues to follow you. So I just got to give you, what do the kids say? Like, mad props.
All right. Well, let's go down that road for a moment. So traditional real estate companies are designed to make the traditional real estate companies profitable. And those profits are going to show up by agents giving royalties, endless commission dollars to those brands, or profits are going to show up when they sell those brands to someone else. In other words, you have agents who are working really hard to make the shareholders more profitable. Keller Williams is the house of excellence for agents who sell luxury. And that's very different because we want the agents to be profitable. We want the agents to succeed. We're not the company trying to get people in to go through an IPO. We're not the company that's trying to get it sold off. We're the company giving agents who sell luxury 3 things. Number 1, the culture and improvement tools they need to constantly grow. Number 2, the products and services they need when it comes time to help a client buy or sell luxury real estate. And 3rd, the profit and wealth building opportunities that other real estate companies cannot touch. The conversation is not, are we a luxury real estate company? We're already there. The more interesting conversation is, we're the company for agents who sell luxury. We have 1 goal, 3 priorities, and 15 standards of excellence. And we invite anyone in the industry to lean in and benefit from those tools at a local, regional, and national playbook. It's huge. It's the new Keller Williams, the house of excellence, and it's for agents who sell luxury real estate each day, every day. In fact, our company as a whole, you know this, we close over now, $1 billion a day.
That was with a B.
That was with a B.
And that was with a B.
Not only do we have the performance, but now we have everything else, all the tools and the culture and the profit opportunities and the wealth building opportunities for agents who sell luxury. If you're an agent selling luxury in a different brand, it is time to look at Keller Williams, because we have an open door where you can earn into a larger community, a community for people just like you who sell luxury, who want to deliver exceptional client interactions each day and every day for the customers that choose to hire you.
So good. And you have delivered so much value to our agents. I mean, I'm willing to put out to our audience, like, if you execute on just 1 or 2 of these paradigms that Brady has given us today, your GCI next year, your units, your volume, all those goals that you have, the goals that Joe and I talk about like every episode, those are going to fall. Like, you're going to blow those out of the water. You're going to crush those things, and you're going to take it to a whole new level. And so, Brady, thank you so much for just bringing us through that. I think this deserves like a longer conversation at some point. Like, I think we could make every G, Joe, its own episode. Every standard of excellence its own episode. But we don't have time for that right now. It is around the holidays when we're recording this, and so I want to transition our conversation into the last segment of our show, which is 3, 2, 1 action. It's the same 3 questions that we ask every single guest. Brady, are you ready for this segment?
I'm ready, David. Bring it on.
All right, Joe, kick us off. Question number 1.
Brady, who is the one most influential person on your business and why?
Oh, the most influential person on my business right now?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it's clearly Gary Keller. I mean, right now, Gary Keller is the most influential person because he's our chief visionary officer. He's the one that's looking down the road of the organization. My job as director of growth is to help the organization get there. And so clearly, Gary Keller, one of the smartest individuals I've ever met, is my most important business person right now.
Awesome. Question number 2. What has been the most influential book on your business? It could be current, it could be in the past.
It's tough to say one, but if I may offer 3, can I?
You're taking it to a whole new level, David.
The tradition continues.
Here's the success of how we built the business today. Number 1, we read and continue to read The One Thing.
Yeah.
Right? Number 2, we read and we continue to read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, MREA. Both books written by Gary Keller. And the 3rd book, I have to say, was Atomic Habits, right? And let me go in this order. So we realized that we needed to make sure that every person in the organization has one thing they focus on, right? And that one thing then builds into the models that are listed in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And where Atomic Habits shows up is realizing that we do not rise to the level of our goals. We fall down to the level of our systems and habits, right? So take that one person, play to their strengths, put them in the right seat in the organization, help them realize that it's the activities to focus on, not the goal, because when you focus on the activities, the goals will show up. The undercurrent, I'm sneaking in the 4th book. Standard. Talking about the Ritz-Carlton, because that is who we are and what we do. We run our business much like the Ritz-Carlton. When you go to BradySandahl.com and you're talking about Palm Springs area real estate, you'll see that we run the organization behind and in front of the curtain, much like the experience of staying at a Ritz-Carlton hotel. In fact, our ladies and gentlemen will go to visit their ladies and gentlemen so that they actually can stay in the property and understand what delivering exceptional service looks like, feels like, sounds like. Because then they can come back to our organization and do the same thing for the customers we serve. So 4 books: One Thing, MREA, Atomic Habits, and The Gold Standard.
Well, I don't know if we've
Love
had
it. That's a 4.
I don't know if we've had a guest sneak in 4.
Pretty good. all incredible answers, and we appreciate that. Those are obviously a great reading list. Brady, 3rd and final question for you.
Joe,
this is the all-in.
I'm going to cut you off. I want you
okay.
in this question, okay? I want you in this question to add luxury, because I don't know if it changes the answer. However, I want to hear what Brady has to say specifically towards our agents who sell luxury.
Okay, so we're going to modify this on the fly as per David's instructions. So Brady, this is the All-In Podcast where we not only encourage, but we challenge our listeners after every episode to go out there and take some action today that can move the direction of their business. So what do you say to the luxury agents listening right now, or to those who want to be in the luxury division? What's one thing they can go do today to get the ball rolling and to start to change their business toward a more luxury luxury-focused, luxury-centric business?
Oh, this one's easy. I mean, I can take this twist and run with it. So I'm going to focus on the one thing that an agent can do who sells luxury real estate is to make what we call the 4C call. And the 4C call starts with this. You start the conversation with care. How are you doing, David? How are you doing, Joe? How's the family? Where are you being? The second C is curiosity, right? You're going to ask them a series of questions. And you're really showing how much you care, and you're showing how much you're curious about them in the moment that we're all in. That third C is where we step in to be that consultant, right? Now, I guarantee you between the two C's of care and curiosity and that third C, consultant, the question's going to come up, hey, Brady, how's the real estate market? How's luxury doing today, right? It's going to show up, right? And then that fourth C is you're going to close them. And here's the closing question, not a statement, a question. Joe, I'm just curious, what pieces on your luxury monopoly board do you want to move around in 2021? I'll say, well, what do you mean? I say, Joe, you've played Monopoly, right? Well, yeah, I love that game. Well, clearly you're a big thinker and you're a big player. What pieces around the country are you going to move around? Because here's the deal. When you're with Keller Williams, we can plug that person into any market they want to be in, knowing that that consumer is going to get the same service that we've given them in the market that we specialize in. Here's the danger zone. We'll say things like this, hey, David, when there's a problem, just call me. Or when you want to sell, just give me a call. The question is, hey, David, what problems can I solve for you today? David, which luxury real estate would you like to sell right now? We have to go away from statements and towards questions. When you have a question-based conversation and you inject the 4 C's, you will grow your luxury real estate business. Hands down. I guarantee that.
Take it to the bank.
Yeah.
Take it to the bank. And I've heard it said before, and I don't know who to attribute it to, so I'll just pull a Michael Scott and just attribute it to myself. But your income will always be in direct proportion to the quality of questions that you ask.
Yes.
That is the thought that comes to mind when you go through the 4C call. And that is so actionable. And as always, listeners, hit pause on this program and go do that. Who are the 3 phone calls you can go make that 4C call to right now? Because like Joe and I always say, even though we focus and we like to think that we're an action-based podcast, it's not lost on us that, let's make up a figure, 99% of us, you probably don't take action. Make this the day that you do. Give yourself the gift of action and take what Brady just gave us and go implement it. Brady, so good. So much quality in that.
I'll tie down on that. So not only is your comment true in terms of the level of income is influenced by the level of questions, right? But I learned from Mike Ferry that the level of service you offer will determine the level of income you make. Remember this, the market will not dictate how we'll end up, but the market will determine what we need to do to get the outcome we want. And that is a big change, right? So it's not going to be the determining factor, but it does influence what we have to do to get the outcome we want. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not determined your outcome, this is a message to get that job done. That is your one thing. To be very clear on the direction that you want to go, recognizing that the direction that where you want to go will determine how you show up every day. And showing up every day is what you need to do for the people that believe in you. And if you have doubt, remember that inner voice, that negative inner voice, that first thought, flush that out, replace it with a second thought that's more favorable, more positive, and will get you to the destination you want. If there's anything that I can do, I'm only a click away at bradysandahl.com, Brady Sandahl on Facebook, Instagram, David and Joe. You know, from the very first time I met you, I said, I've now become leaders of the fan club, right? So, gentlemen, on this note, you're changing lives. Someone listening today is having a challenge. It may be large and it may be small. Regardless, you're allowing them and giving them permission to solve that problem. And I share that same value, which is why I wanted to spend time with you. So may we all go down the road together. May we all support each other. May we realize that, as Keller Williams always says, we're the house of excellence for agents who sell luxury. And it would be our pleasure to bring you into our business and ultimately be in business with you. Gentlemen, thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for joining us. Look at you just anticipating even the questions that I'm going to ask. Find BradySandahl.com. We will link all this information in the show notes. And, you know, Brady, as I told you before, we'll have you in very soon. We're going to dive deep into this. We're going to workshop this stuff at some point here in Scottsdale. And so if you're an agent who's listening to this who wants more, I encourage you, reach out to any of us. We are here to serve you at a high level. And that's basically a wrap on today's episode. Joe in Maine, Brady in California, me in Scottsdale. Guys, we loved being with you. We love that you would invest time with us. As always, go play all in.
That's a wrap.
That is a wrap.
Perfect.
That was such a good show.
Yeah, I like, just as we anticipated, David, practically didn't have to say anything and just enlightened us with words of wisdom one after another.
Look at my notebook.
Really easy.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing time with us, and
of course, my pleasure.
We'll let you go, and look forward to talking and seeing you soon. Next time you're around, have a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. All of
you
those
should be
things.
well, be safe, okay, and keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brady.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, Joe. Knock out a quick thing.
Yeah, you have a few minutes. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So let's see here. As far as an intro is concerned, is there anything that you are itching to share? He started off with customer experience starts behind the curtain, great brands, anticipate, basically the Aspire acronym.
Right. I guess the thing that came to mind for me for the intro would just be, even though this is a luxury podcast or a luxury episode, these fundamentals do not just apply to luxury agents. So I guess what I want our listeners to be listening for is how they can apply these fundamental concepts to their business, regardless of what that looks like.
Right. Nail these concepts and ideas, and it's just going to grow your world. Is really
right.
The idea.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. Sounds good. Let's do that. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast, show number, I don't even know what we're on now, but we have Brady Sandahl today. Brady is the owner of a luxury real estate group in Palm Springs, California. He's also the International Director of Growth for Keller Williams Luxury, which serves thousands of agents across the world who choose to sell luxury. Joe, on today's episode, what should our listeners be hearing?
Yeah, so I think it's important that everybody listening do not be intimidated or turned off by the word luxury, because what you're going to hear Brady talk about is some fundamental concepts, some business strategies that you can implement in your own business, regardless of whether you're a luxury brand or want to be a luxury brand. These concepts and foundational principles will help you build your business no matter how long you've been in business, no matter what your brand is. So if you're not necessarily aligning yourself with a luxury quote unquote brand, continue to listen to the episode, because you're going to hear some really creative ways to implement these strategies in your business, regardless of whatever your focus is.
You're spot on. Guys, this is a great episode that you can very easily take action on by using any of the acronyms that Brady's going to give to you. And so we hope that you enjoy this show, and we'll be right back after a word from one of our sponsors.
All
right. So a wrap.
I will. Well, we've got to do the outro now, right? Or conclusion?
Yep.
Okay. I'll probably touch on the kind of what I said during the episode. It's not a price point or how much money can I spend, but a personalization. So I'll kind of just open up on that a little bit and then pitch it back to you.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. Do you know what? Okay. Yeah.
So there was so much content, I feel like, in that episode, Joe, and I think that we really only scratched the surface. So we'll definitely have to have Brady back sometime. It's always fun chatting with him.
Yeah, for sure. And just one of the big takeaways, David, I said it during the episode, and I think it's so important that our listeners get this point. Luxury is not just a price point, and luxury is certainly not a matter of how much money can I spend on my clients to make them feel like they're valuable clients. Rather, luxury starts with a mindset. And you as a business owner, it's important that you adopt the right mindset. And Brady made an excellent point. If you're lacking that mindset right now, if you're lacking that confidence, then get into action, which is, such an alignment with this entire all-in podcast concept, which is go out there and take some action. And to Brady's point, that action will lead to a result, and you'll improve your skills, and that will lead to more confidence and a stronger mindset. So I just love that takeaway. And think about, as you're going through your business, how can I provide a higher level of customized service, personalized service? It's not just about how much money you're willing to spend, but how much time you're willing to take to ask the questions and provide that personalized experience to really capture the loyalty of your customers moving forward.
Yeah, and I think, like, when I think about real estate the Ritz Way and everything that Brady was laying out, I think one of the things that stuck out to me the most is that when you're doing real estate at such a high level, like he described, one of the things that you're committed to is practicing on your peers, not on your paying clients, the people that pay you. And I think that's really good to remember, just because it's something that we teach all agents coming into the business, right? Why would you go practice when it's game time? No, you practice beforehand. And so just this whole idea of the experience starts behind the curtain, right? Like, how are you doing self-work? How are you practicing with your peers? These are really important things that I know we touch on. I know we tend to come back to some of the same concepts, but so much of success, Joe, in this business rests on these fundamentals. And until we nail these things and are committed to mastering them over time, our lives are not going to grow as big as they could. And so I hope people take that away. There was things for leaders here. There were things for agents that are in production. There are things for brokerages. I'm really grateful for the time that we had. And so I hope all of us go and take action. I have a few 4C calls to make. So.
Yeah, there you go. And just one more thought on this for everybody is I love this concept of cross-industry training, meaning that we do not just have to look at other real estate companies to ask ourselves the question, how can we improve our business? We can look at the Ritz-Carlton, the hotel chain, and say, what are they doing to provide a higher level of customer experience? And how can I adopt some of those same principles into my business? And so just keep it in mind, whether you're in your first year, your 10th year, or your 30th year in real estate, constantly be asking yourself the question, what and how is the consumer's expectation changing, and what and how do I need to adapt in my business to continue to provide that high level of service? And what other industries, what other business models can I look at for influence and for creative ideas to bring into my world and provide that customer service?
Joe, I don't know about you, but it sounds like a future episode is in the works. That sounds like a good brainchild for you and I to just pick on for some time.
Let's do it, man. I'm in.
All right,
I'm
man.
all in.
Well, dude, have such a good time while you're away. The studio chair is cold. We're excited to have you back. But anyway, I just want to say on the show, happy holidays to you and your family. And guys, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the All In Podcast. Smash the subscribe button. Leave us a rating and review. Tell us how we can serve you better and give you a better experience as you're part of the All In community. Have a good one.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the All In Podcast. We want to invite you to find all of today's resources from our show page at aipodcast.co. We also ask that you take just 1 minute to leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. This is how we grow and how we're able to bring you the best content each and every week. Now go play All In.